And only when we're able to really, in an honest way, be in relationship with our flaws, with our humanity, with choosing to become human, can we actually become our higher, truer selves.
Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of Open Book with Eitan and Itai. Itai is still away on his army course, but we have here a very special guest, Benji Elson, author of the new book, Count the Omer, which has already sold out in Eretz Yisrael. It's an incredible, stunning book. Benji, we're so happy to have you. Mamash.
Thanks, Eitan. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so you've had a very interesting journey leading up, just in terms of life and the events leading up to the book. Do you think you could tell us a little bit about who you are and how you came to write this groundbreaking book on the Omer?
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in Passaic, New Jersey. Maybe some of us have heard of it. I grew up Haredi, yeshivish in the States. And I remember in second grade I wanted to be a rabbi. And, wore black and white and through the beginning of high school. And in the beginning of high school, I started having questions and asking my questions, and wasn't very satisfied with the answers I was getting. They felt a little bit superficial. And then also the educational system over there is slightly broken. So I had
the Jewish schools, or
in the Jewish yeshivish high school system. So I had the privilege of being knocked around a bit, and those two experiences combined made me decide very early on, 9th, 10th grade, that Judaism was not a valid spiritual path. I wasn't going to find the depth.
But you were looking for that depth.
Yeah, I was looking for that depth. And I decided that Judaism, the only Judaism that I knew, wasn't what I was looking for, and wasn't going to get me there. So I went through a process of leaving slowly, leaving the fold. Went on quite a journey, and found my way back.
Spent some time in India.
Spent some time in India, in the ashrams in India. Yeah, it was very powerful. I got into Eastern philosophy, meditation, Buddhism, Hinduism. But still, all of that also didn't quite sit completely resonant with me. I ended up in the old city at Eitan, and I found myself in the Essentials program. It was called the Essentials program back in the day, and sitting in a class with Yom Tov Glazer, and he started talking about the Sefirot, and drew this image on the board and this diagram, and I was like, what? I've never heard of this. Where is this coming from?
You were in Jewish schools all through your education, and it wasn't brought up.
Never heard of it. There's Kabbalah out there. You can't learn until you're married and 40 years old.
It's very in the like hardcore Ashkenazi world. I think it's very. I don't learn Kabbalah. People, they're very proud to say, I don't learn Kabbalah. Right. I've heard it.
Right. Yeah, and also just...
For better or for worse.
Right. And just conversations about God. Like, we all know exactly what God told us to do, but who is God? What is God?
What does he want from us? What is his relationship?
Right. Well, it's very clear what he wants from us, right?
But more of...
But the relationship is that you do what God said. That's the relationship, right? That's where it happens.
Sounds like marriage.
Right. But never any conversations or inquiries, and those were some of the questions that I was having. Just like, we're talking about God so much, but what is it? Who is he? Who is she? What's going on here? And so finally in Aish Torah, there were people having those conversations. And so
how did you go from New Jersey yeshiva schools to counseling in Jerusalem?
Yeah, a long process, a lot of inner work. I always had a clear vision that I wanted to go into counseling. I've been the keeper of secrets my whole life. People would come and
tell you
share secrets with me, and I a good listener, and and just whenever I was, and different advice here and there, or whatever, and it felt clear and right, and I was like, okay, this is my calling.
Yeah. So I wanna shift to asking you some questions about the book, if that's okay, because the book is something very special.
Sure.
I think the unique thing is I've gotten to look at a few Omer books on the Omer and stuff. I work in a bookstore, so I have to know which books are going to be good for who and what. Something that was very unique to me was how you align the water cycle with the Sphirot. So I was wondering if, in brief, also it occurs to me that some people might not know what the Omer is. Some people, as you pointed out, might not know what the Sphirot is. So, you're kind of, so to speak, between the two of us, like much like the experts. So could you tell us? Could you tell us a little bit about the Omer, the Sphirot, and go from there?
Sure. So I'll try to condense the.
It's so hard. I know.
Right.
I know. That's one thing I like about your book is that you talk about it at length. You don't make it cuts out. You really speak about them and give them depth. So.
Thank you. Yeah. So I mean, the introduction that I'm gonna is about 60 pages, but but basically it's called the Dance of the Omer,
right.
And the inspiration for that is that the whole period of the Omer started with a dance, right? Similar to, we all know the dance with the Lulav and Esrog, right? Where nowadays we go around the bima, but back in the day in the Beit HaMikdash, they would dance and they were waving it in
wheat and barley, or with barley and then
with the Lulav and Esrog, right?
During the beginning of the Omer, how would we dance?
Right. So hold on a second.
Oh, sorry.
So no problem. So we all we all shake the Lulav and Esrog
right.
in the 6 directions. The same thing happened with the Omer, which people don't realize. The Lulav and Esrog was that dance happened at the beginning of the rainy season, and the Omer happened at the beginning of the dry season, right, Pesach. And so the same dance happened. They would take the Omer, which is a sheath of wheat, actually barley, the first one, and they would take it to the Beit HaMikdash, and it was a dance that happened in 6 directions, waving this around. So that was the inspiration of the name of this book.
Hearing about that, like, I feel like there's been something missing in my life now. Like, every year I do the Lulav and Etrog, but I guess all this time I've been doing half of what we're really supposed to do, or even a third.
Right. So actually, some of the meditation, there's a layer in the book that talks about the directions, the 6
right.
directions based on what the Rizal writes. And the source of that is actually what he writes about in the Nanuim, in the directions of the Lulav. So the teachings in the book, you can take them and also apply them to Sukkos, that each of the Sfirot are connected to the one of the directions, because each of the directions have a certain energy that vibrates when you align with that direction based on a lot of things.
So what is the Omer, and what are the Sfirot?
Yeah.
Start there.
Okay. So the Sfirot are it's the template that the Kabbalists understand all of reality through, from the emanation and the manifestation of godliness in the world, and it shows up in all facets of life. It's the structure. It's the content. It's the matter. It's our emotions. It's our body. It's everything. And there's 10 of them, and they go through different from the theological point of view. The 10 ways that godliness manifests in the world. On a human level, it's the 10 parts of our body, and the parts of our soul, our emotional world, our cognitive world, will, our desires, and will is in there. That's like in a very, very nutshell.
I know. So people need to buy the book if they want to get the full picture. So what about the Omer? What's the Omer?
Okay, so can I return to your point about the?
However you want.
Okay. So this dance starts with the dance of this Omer, And as I was writing this and sitting with Sfirat Omer a few years, last year it kind of hit me that the Torah says that a river came out from the Garden of Eden, right? And it
special.
and it flows into the world, and it breaks into four riverheads which water the world. And so I was thinking about that. Well, where does this water go, right? So I have a part of my background is as an experiential Jewish environmental educator. I spent a few years taking kids and adults out into the forests and connecting them to Hashem and nature and Torah through that. So, and one of the things that we really focused on is the water cycle. That there's been the same exact amount of water in this planet from the beginning of creation till now. The only difference is what form it takes and where in the water cycle it is. So with that background, and thinking about this river that came out from Gan Eden, so where did that water go? It went into the water cycle. And so this book, to help guide the transformational journey, it uses this metaphor of the water cycle. So each of the sfirot in each week of Sfirat Omer connected to the sfira is connected to one of these stations, one of these forms in this transformational journey of the water. Why do we use the water? Because first of all, we don't feel it as much because we have running water and plumbing and a tap, but this is really the beginning of the dry season, and part of what Pesach, all the mitzvot of Pesach, the Korban Pesach, Chadash, the Omer is preparing us for the dry season, where there's not going to be water. So water is we're playing with water. Right, so Gemara says in Mayim el Torah that there's no water except for Torah. That Torah is water, and so this whole journey of Sfirat Omer is bringing us to Shavuot, to the revelation of a new Torah, to the revelation of the Torah. Every year we receive new Torah, new water, right? So the book uses the water cycle that goes through the water cycle, bringing us back to the Garden of Eden again, really, through and then on Shavuos there's another dance that happens, but this time it's with 2 loaves of bread. At the beginning it was flour of barley.
Yeah.
It goes through this process, and then the water culminates in the week of Malchut, back into the garden, into the life force of the forests, of the fields.
It's all connected. It's crazy. I was also thinking that the etrog and lulav and all those plants, they're moist, whereas the grains are dry. So I just
very nice.
Wow. So we're gonna take a break here. I'm gonna tell you guys a little bit about Pomeranz bookseller. Then we'll come back to the show. Michael Pomeranz has been selling books in Jerusalem for 30 years now. And during that time, he's learned that the most important thing is his customers. That is why if you come into Pomeranz and you're looking for a book, they're going to do their very best to help you find that book. And if they don't have it, it's all right. They'll get it in for you. They do their best to match other people's prices, and they've got all kinds of books. They've got cookbooks, children's books. As Itai likes to say, they have Rav cookbooks. They have all kinds of books. So why don't you call them or send them a WhatsApp at 02-623-5559. Welcome back. Wanted to ask you, Benji, what is it exactly that we're supposed to accomplish? We got 49 days between Pesach up to Shavuot, and we go through these sfirot, which are hard to put into words, and we count. What are we supposed to become in these 49 days?
That's a very good question. Growing up, and I still hear it almost every day from people that grew up religious, that the Omer growing up was mourning, right? Was you don't shave, you don't listen to music, all these things of mourning, which are important and serve. I'll get to that in a second, but it also kind of drowns out the potential in these days. I think one of the reasons for that is kind of just like a fast day. Many of the holidays, there's a fast day attached to it, and the reason is because when you fast, it's a transformational experience. that it
For
grounds you. It helps you process certain things. And so I think originally one of the reasons why the traditions of mourning have taken such a strong hold is, and they're meant to help you jumpstart a very deep and meaningful introspective process.
Mm.
The problem is that the process has gotten lost along the way. it's making a comeback through a bunch of
People
books
are focusing on the means instead of the ends.
right.
Wow.
So thank God to a lot of books that have come out in the past few years, focusing on the Sfirot. There's been a resurgence of this work, and really, to get back to your question, the point is to land at Shavuos a better, more true, higher version of yourself. It means a lot of things, right? There's kind of three orientations in our discussion right before. You had mentioned Ben Adam Lemakom, Ben Adam Lechaver, Ben Adam La'atzma, which is mitzvot, or relationships that are one with oneself, with others, and with God, a higher power. So those are, I like to think of those as orientations: inwards, outwards, and upwards.
Oh, that's nice.
Thanks. And really, those are all three sides of this cube. They're all part of the same. You can't really have a connection to yourself unless you're connected to others and to God. You can't have a connection to God unless you're connected to others and yourself. You can't connect to others, really.
So I guess it's like a triangle, because like a triangle is strong based on the strength of each of the.
Yeah. So so the point of Sfirat Omer is it's all a preparation to get us to Har Sinai. On Har Sinai, the hope is, and this is really what the book is it's a step-by-step guide to arriving there, at being ready to receive a new revelation of who you are. We talk about a new revelation of Torah. What does it mean, Torah? It's a new purpose. It's a new direction. It's a new understanding of why I'm here, what I'm supposed to be doing, who I am, all those things. And so at the end, we're hopefully going to be a better, higher, truer version of ourselves.
Right. The Omer is it's amazing how layered it is. We have, the agricultural aspect, and we have the counting, and it's supposed to be joyous, and then these 24,000 Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva died in a plague, and then mourning aspects are put on top of it. So it's like, what do I feel? What do I do? And then now in more modern times, there's holidays that some people call religious and other people call secular. Holidays of the nation of Israel, Yom Ha'atzmaut, and a more solemn day, Yom HaZikaron. In your book, you provide options for people that want to do, Omer practices, introspection. For those that believe, so to speak, in a Yom Ha'atzmaut, those that don't. Do you feel that? And this is a big question. Do you feel that Yom Ha'atzmaut itself is something grounded in the spiritual fabric of the world, the way other holidays are? Mm-hmm. And if you're uncomfortable, we'll just cut it out. No problem. We'll cut it out of the video. Don't worry.
I think it's personally on par with and we can feel it in the air that it's very similar to Purim or Hanukkah, right? These holidays that the sages, the Chazal, have enacted because of these era-shifting, monumental occurrences that really have caused shifts in the Jewish psyche, at least for sure, and maybe the whole world. And Yom Ha'atzmaut is definitely one of those. It's definitely one of those. Wow. It's especially for us living here in land of Israel. And I think it's a real deep recognition of Hashem's hand in that. If you're religious, and if not, then there's different ways of taking it. But yeah, I think it's the Vilna Gaon writes. I wish I had the source with me. I don't remember the exact But I think it's he says that there's two dates of Count the Omer that the Satan has no control over. The Sitra Achra has no control over the other side. And I think, if I'm remembering, it's day 20 and day 42, which happen to correlate with Yom HaTzmaut and Yom Yerushalayim. So, and that was a couple hundred years ago. So there's definitely something going on here.
There's something afoot.
Something afoot.
That's interesting. That's mamash interesting. But you still, in the book, you want to give people who don't ascribe to that the option of, continuing their sphera in peace without being bothered by that. Is that right?
Right. It's also it's a big question. It's a question that's emerging recently that Yom HaTzmaut and Yom Yerushalayim. Well, yeah. They're usually not on the Hebrew dates that it happened.
Right.
On the correct Hebrew dates, because of worry of desecration of Shabbat.
Right.
In recent years, I actually think it might be more beneficial to have it on, if it's on Shabbat, to have it on Shabbat, to really celebrate and tap into the vibrations.
What about the desecration of Shabbat?
Yeah, it's a big question. It's a big question.
Do you have a big answer?
The big answer is that those people are going to be desecrating it anyways. They're going to go to the restaurant. They're actually going to probably do less desecration of Shabbat, maybe, because they're driving to their family's house, right? Okay, they're lighting the barbecue, but maybe they're definitely not working, right? Which maybe on a Saturday, regular Saturday, people will be working. So they might actually be desecrating the Shabbat less, but for sure they would be desecrating in other ways regardless.
I want to give myself and our viewers a taste of your book and what they can expect in there. So I'm going to ask you about a holiday that we have coming up, which is Count the Omer. The Sphera counting, it ends up coming to be Hod Sheba Hod, which is like Hod squared, which is pretty cool. So maybe, do you think, how does Hod Sheba Hod tie into Count the Omer?
Yeah, okay.
We might have to charge for this one, right?
Okay, Hod Sheba Hod. Well, Hod, there's many layers of all the Sfirot. Netzach and Hod is this pair that one of the layers involved in them is that they're the sources of prophecy. The reason is that they're connected in the human body, they're connected to the legs, and on the divine body, so to speak, they're connected to the legs of God, which means that these are the lower sphera that are more meant. There's a place of interaction with the physical world.
It's like a bridge between the spiritual and the physical.
Yeah, and it's more manifest. Netzach is the source of, and so therefore they're connected to prophecy.
Okay.
These are the sources of prophecy. So Netzach is connected to the auditory components of prophecy, right? The auditory messages. Hod is connected to the visual components of prophecy. So that also connects to other facets of Hod, which is seeing, reflection, hodaya, acknowledgement, gratitude. These are all words that point at reflecting, at seeing another, at interacting with another.
Right.
So that's kind of Hod. Hod Sheba Hod is, the way I frame it in the book is choosing to become human. What does that mean, choosing to become human?
Right, but how does the seeing aspect of prophecy relate to Count the Omer?
Right. So
you're getting there.
I'm getting there.
Okay. Oh, it's gonna all tie together.
Choosing becoming. Why do I say that? Because the celebration of Count the Omer is really right. So the story is that and it's actually on Daf Lamed Gimel of Shabbat.
Right.
When
I saw that in your book, yeah.
where the Gemara talks about the story of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and his son, who go into the cave for 12 years, and they don't go with books, right? So what are they doing? They're meditating. They're discussing. They're meditating on the human experience, maybe the divine experience, they come out at the end of 12 years, and they see a farmer working, and all of a sudden, their eyes, right? So hood, their eyes. They use their eyes, and whatever the Gemara says, whatever their eyes saw, it burnt up in flames. Why? Because they had gotten to a place that, when they emerged, they couldn't relate to the world. They saw this farmer working. Like, how could this person be working and not meditating on the divine experience, on the cosmos, and all these things? They weren't in touch with the human experience. What do? And the reason why they came out is because there was a bat kol that came out and said, the decree for your death has been ripped up. Okay, so they're free to go. But what do? They say, we got to go back into the cave. They choose to go back into the cave. Why do they choose to go back into the cave? To learn how to become human again. To reconnect to the human experience. They had gotten to this level, and they came out and they realized, no, this is not what it's about. Like Mar actually says that you come out of the cave. A bat kol came out, a divine echo came out and said, you've come out to destroy my world. So they go back in, and that's really what we're celebrating on Lag BaOmer, not the first 12 years.
Do you think that there are people who today put too much into spirituality, and they actually have to connect with the world more and do business and talk with people, talk with all kinds of people and things like that? Do you think that's important, or there's some people who can be in a cave?
This is an ancient question that the Gemara talks about. There's two schools of thought. There's Rabbi Yishmael's school and Rishon Bar Yochai's school. That it's an ancient question of what should be working or should we not. So everyone's different. Everyone needs to figure out for themselves, and I'm not gonna.
Okay, I respect that. Did you finish up what you were saying earlier?
No, I didn't. So and they come out and they use their eyes in a different way. So hood to hood, and they see this another farmer holding these hadassim, which is the shape of the eyes, which is connected again to Sukkot, to Sukkot, to the four species. And they say, and they have come out with different eyes that see beauty, that see the reflection of humanity in the other, that witness humanity, that value humanity. I talk a little bit more in the book about what does it mean to be human. Right, when Moshe goes up to get the Torah, which is what we're going towards on Shavuos, he argues. The angels say, Hashem, you're going to give the Torah. So what he's doing, he goes and talks about how all of our flaws, and that's really what it means to be human. We're flawed. We're not perfect. So the shift happens when we choose to be human, and that's what Lag BaOmer is really about. Choosing to go back into the cave to relearn how to appreciate the flaws, how to relate to them properly, because that's our power, and that's why we got the Torah, and that's why we're here, and only when we're able to really, in an honest way, be in relationship with our flaws, with our humanity, with choosing to become human, can we actually become our higher, truer selves. So.
Wow, it's special. What? How can? Maybe we'll part with this because I don't know if you can top that. That was really special. How can we take the lessons we learn in the Omer and carry them with us for the whole year? Because ideally, I think this is ideally a book that I'll revisit throughout the year, not just for 49 days. Not just for 1/6 of the year. So right. How can we take these lessons and continue to grow?
I'm a little bit hesitant to give the end of the book away. It's really it's a journey.
No,
but it's not really giving it away. The way that the book frames the week of Malchut, which is usually translated as king or sovereign, but it's really the kingdom. And we're building up towards rediscovering our purpose, But then the week of Malchut, the focus of the week is stepping into the leadership roles. That each of us, based on our past, based on the root source of our soul, based on the experiences that we've had in life, our challenges, all these things, we have a specific area of leadership, of wisdom, of knowledge, of something to give to the world, of leadership. And so the whole last week is stepping into, discovering and stepping into that place of leadership. And then that's just the beginning of okay, then go out into the world and do it, which is really, and then you arrive at Har Sinai, which I think the book has a unique take on what happened at Har Sinai, connected to this pivotal transformation that occurred there, and then going out into the world and being a light, not just to the nations, but to yourself, to your family, to the people you meet in the streets, to share your the unique thing that you've been brought into the world to share.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Benji.